Hi student, this is Professor Harmony Kim and this lecture video is the last video in this semester. You will study Japanese Buddhism. In order to understand the transmission of Buddhism to Japan, we will think about the Silk Road. The Silk Road has not been ended in China. The Silk Road further continued to Korean Peninsula. I send you a journal article by email titled, the journal title is Korea and the Silk Road from the journal The Silk Road. This article provides several evidence to corroborate the connection between Central Asia and Three Kingdoms period of Korea. In this context, Buddhism has been transmitted from India to Central Asia, Korea, and even to Japan. Please read this article, Korea and the Silk Road, and if you want to choose this article for your essay assignment, that's okay. What is essay assignment? I will explain essay assignment at the end of this lecture video. First, if I briefly summarize this article, especially with figures, you see these figures from the article. The left panel, this is Silla gold crown excavated in Gyeongju in the second half of 5th century CE. This gold crown would seem to indicate links to Siberian influences. Silla crowns show in the shape of deer antlers or trees reaching toward heaven. Silla crowns reflected shamanistic belief. This crown of Silla kingdom was a golden crown with a stylized tree rising in front of a headband. Here's a headband. And a representation of antlers on each side. The whole construction was studied with the leaves of a thin gold sheet and comma-shaped jade pendant. Here's comma-shaped jade pendant. And this thin golden sheet represents the leaves of the tree. This type of crown for a considerable time was considered unique to the Korean peninsula and to a large extent came to be used as a symbol of Korea and indigenous Korean culture. If you look at this figure, the left panel shows a Silla crown, whereas the right one shows the crown from Bactria. The obvious connection between the Silla gold crown and their North Asian or Siberian shamanistic parallels come to be recognized. Especially striking in this connection is the technique of attaching small gold leaves to the crown in a manner that is almost identical to the one found on the Korean peninsula. So if you look at the pattern of a crown in terms of leaves of the tree and pendant, they are pretty much similar. The striking parallels between the crowns from Bactria and Silla in terms of the tree of life, the golden leaves, have led to far-reaching speculation about early Bactrian Korean connections during the 4th or 5th century CE. Therefore, it seems safe to state that Bactria and the Silla crowns share a number of features, such as the tree of leaf, the golden leaves, and these features is important enough to permit us to treat them as belonging to a common Central Northeast Asian cultural sphere with clear nomadic traditions. It stretches from Bactria eastward through the old Shanbei area in China and reaches Goguryeo and Silla states on the Korean peninsula. This figure shows glass cups excavated from the tomb in Gyeongju in 1924. This bottle, especially this tall bottle, the phoenix head-shaped glass bottle was excavated from 4th or 5th century CE tomb in Gyeongju. The bottle's shape has Scythian origin and was exported from the Middle East to Korea over the Silk Road. Indeed, glass constitutes one of the very few evident and irrefutable evidence of such direct import. During the period of the Golden Dynasty of the Silla Kingdom, larger glass objects were not yet manufactured on the Korean peninsula. Consequently, all glass objects from this period, which were found among the grave materials in Silla and adjacent areas, were imported. Glass vessels, cups, bowls, derived from the Mediterranean area, Southern Europe, or Persia. Rhyton is a Hellenistic horn-shaped drinking cup made from horn or silver. Iranian-made pottery, Rhytons in the shape of an animal's head, lion's head, ram's head, or horse head, at the lower tip of the Rhyton. And this kind of Rhyton was found in the Persian and Greek cultural context. And Persian and Greek culture appear already during the second millennium BCE. Second millennium BCE is the period from 2000 BCE up to 2nd century BC. A conspicuous and important example of immaterial transport along the Silk Road is given by the few findings of Rhytons on the territory of Silla Kingdom. There is no evidence that Rhytons were transported along the Silk Road as material objects. Instead, it seems that the concept was utilized by local makers along the road and eventually also came to serve as a model for craftsmen in Silla and Gaya Kingdom during the 5th and 6th century CE. The time span for this category of object thus is fairly long, ranging from the 2nd millennium BCE in the West to the 5th or 6th century CE on the Korean peninsula. Another evidence to show Korea is part of Silk Road is painting. In the realm of paintings and their motif, The painting is called Parthian shot. Parthian shot is said to have originated in the Parthian kingdom as a military tactic. It depicts a mounted warrior turning backward and with both hands shooting with his bow toward his persecutors or prey, while riding forward at a gallop. This difficult technique became widely popular among the Scythians, Huns, Turks, and Mongols, and was often utilized as a motif in painting and sculpture. Even Roman artists, obviously working for the Scythian market, showed such a scene. It is therefore perhaps not surprising that the Parthian shot is found explicitly represented also among the mural paintings in the so-called dance tomb in the kingdom of Goguryeo. This basically Western or Central Asian scene in the Goguryeo case is executed in a perfectly local setting. These paintings show Koguryeo's style clothes, horse harness, weapons, etc. The painting constitutes another clear and incontestable example of an intellectual concept rather than an object having been transported along the Silk Road. This figure shows 9-foot military stone guards which have Central Asian features with deep-set eyes, high nose ridge, and headband that resemble those worn by Iranians during that time. This indicates more direct evidence of Central Asian Korean peninsula contact on the personal level during the Silla period. This statue is found in the remarkable tomb Guardians of Stone standing in front of the grave mound traditionally ascribed to the king in the vicinity of Gyeongju. Gyeongju is the capital city of Silla Kingdom. There can be little doubt that it represents a person who is neither a local inhabitant nor a Chinese, but rather somebody from the western region in Central Asia. The figure shows heavy full beard. His cap and other clothing reveals his western origin. Whether the direct model for this statue was a Central Asian mercenary or an ambassador is perhaps of little consequence. This effigy demonstrates that the Silla kingdom, still in the 8th century CE, had living contact with Central Asia that were strong enough to warrant the erection of this exceptional kind of statue in a royal context. You saw several figures so far, and those figures clarifies the connection between Central Asia and Korea, probably through the Silk Road. This map shows the eastern route of Silk Road through land, and you can see the Silk Road extended to Korea. Here, Dunhuang, and continue here, and then further extend to east direction. Here's Goguryeo, Bactria, Silla, and even to Japan. Maybe not only by the land. This map shows the eastern route of Silk Road through sea. So you can see here's Sumatra and Guangzhou, and it transmits materials or Buddhism to Korean Peninsula. As I mentioned before, Buddhism has arrived at Gaya Kingdom through maritime Buddhism. So here's Gaya Kingdom accept Buddhism through Silk Road by sea. While Silla or Kaya imported many materials and ideas that had traveled along the Silk Road, it also served as a conduit to Japan for the same good and concept. Buddhism was transmitted via the Silk Road from China to Korea and then to Japan. Late in the 4th century, rulers of Bactria Kingdom sent missionaries to Japan for amicable relationship and political reason. During unified Silla, Korean artisans created sculpture and built temples, shrines, and castles in Japan. Therefore, Silk Road could be extended across the East Sea. So this map shows Silk Road route from Korea and Japan. Here you can see the dot line, Japan, and maritime connection during late in the 1st century CE. And also the ruler of Bactria Kingdom sent missionary to Japan for amicable relationship and political reason. Japan was called Yamato at the time. So Japanese Buddhism has been transmitted from Korea to Japan. During Nara period from 710 to 794, there were 6 Buddhist schools existed. Those are Jojisu school, Sanron school, Hosso school, Ritsu school, Jodo school, and Gekkon school. Let's examine the characteristics of each school. Jojisu school. Sorry, here's a typo. Here's Jojisu school. Jojisu school is based on Satyasiddhi Sastra written by Indian monk named Harivarman during the 1st century CE. Indian monk Harivarman was Sarvastivadin teacher at the beginning and developed more perfect doctrine later. Kumarajiva translated Satyasiddhi Sastra, which is based on 4 noble truths. Satyasiddhi Sastra is part of enlightenment and emphasizes emptiness. In Sanskrit, sunyata, and also Satyasiddhi emphasized midway. Sanron school. The central philosophy of Sanron school is Madhyamika school of Buddhism. Nagarjuna was a founder of Madhyamika school of Buddhism. Nagarjuna said middle way is dependent origination. Dependent origination is not independent, so nothing is really existed on its own. Therefore, emptiness, sunyata. Everything is relative, so everything is emptiness, according to Sanron school. Hosso means characteristic of Dharma which imply matter and mind. In India, a Venerable Asanga established this school named Yogacara school. The brother Vasubandhu systematized Yogacara teaching and developed idealism in a way that what we see is a hallucination because they do not really exist. All external objects exist in relation to consciousness. So depending on the level of consciousness, the phenomena can be interpreted differently. There are 9 kinds of consciousness. The first one is eye consciousness, ear, nose, tongue, body, and all these 5 kinds of consciousness is gonna center. We call that sense center or mano vijnana. The 7th consciousness is manana vijnana, so-called discriminating mind. And this is the thought center. And 8th consciousness is called astral consciousness or alaya vijnana. The 9th consciousness is called amala vijnana. The astral, the 8th consciousness, alaya vijnana, is still contaminated. So, when 8th consciousness, alaya vijnana, is purified, it transforms into amala vijnana, that is 9th consciousness, so-called taintless consciousness. Dosho studied and brought Yogacara idealism and established Hosso school. Hosso school taught the nature of phenomena as everything is mind created. There is no real nature. Nothing is independent. Ultimate truth is not dependent. Ritsu school is basically Vinaya school. Discipline, Vinaya. Some monks wanted to follow the discipline of the Buddha. Vinaya is important, otherwise practice will disappear soon. Jodo school is Japanese Pure Land school based on Sukhavati Vihara Sutra. I hope you remember Sukhavati Vihara Sutra when you study Chinese Buddhism. Basic philosophy of Sukhavati is devotionalism. Sukhavati is heavenly paradise, and the Buddha called Amitabha lived there. If you believe in Amitabha, emancipation will come after being born in the land of Sukhavati, which is Pure Land. But there is some contradiction in a way that in early Buddhism, the Buddha said, I am not going to liberate other people's liberation. You have to do by yourself through practice. Unlike the early Buddhism in modern era, practice is deteriorating. So people have to be helped by somebody or by uttering the Buddha's name, such as Namo Amitabha. The origin of this practice lies in the meditational quality of the Buddha. In the 6th century CE, most Chinese Buddhist traditions reached Japan by way of Korea. In the 12th and 13th century CE, many new traditions proliferated in Japan. This occurred because people were bewildered by the vastness of the Buddha's teachings and sought a single effective practice in which to engage. During this time, 2 Pure Land traditions separated from Tiantai school. The Jodo shin-shu the true Pure Land sect emphasized the family as the center of religious life. It began the custom of married priests who take vows and lead religious practice in temples. The temples are passed down from father to eldest son. Gekkon school. The central philosophy of Gekkon school is found from Avatamsaka Sutra. There was no school based on Avatamsaka Sutra in India. However, in China, Huayan school is Avatamsaka school. Avatamsaka Sutra addressed that every phenomena generated from mind, which is Tathagata-garbha. Tathagata-garbha, or another name, Dharma-dhatu, has a similar meaning as Buddha nature. The theory of causation by Dharma-dhatu is the climax of all causation. Therefore, the Buddha nature is the dormant in every sentient being. So, Avatamsaka Sutra teaches ideas of harmonious all beings. Another school is called Nichiren school. Nichiren school is a kind of Protestant scholastic studies of Buddhism. Nichiren school is not like the esoteric Buddhism, but simplifies and popularizes Buddhism. Nichiren school is most Protestant and intolerant to other Buddhism, although it does not like Pure Land. The meaning of Nichiren is sun and lotus. Nichiren school casts two questions. One is, how can I be assured of salvation? The other question is, why Japanese government were defeated, although they have blessings. This means from many words, Japanese government defeated. How this can be happen, although Japanese people have blessings. The answers of these questions lied in Lotus Sutra. Lotus Sutra is Sadhamma Pundarika Sutra. Nichiren school taught Lotus Sutra to all Japanese people in 1250 CE. The school chant Namu Myoho Renge Kyo. Nichiren school believes enlightenment is here and now and accepts three bodies of Buddha as the ultimate one Buddha. Nichiren school introduced rituals and the believers made temples around Mountain Fuji. Sokagakkai school, established around 1930, which is a very recent phenomenon. Makiguchi was a school founder who was a follower of Nichiren school. Makiguchi mixed Nichiren teaching and Western pragmatism. He proposed absolute truth cannot be known, and the benefit of truth is its use of benefit. So people should be pragmatically happy. This idea inspired lay people to move traditional Buddhism to secularization. Now let's look at Japanese meditation, Zen. Although Chinese Chan or Korean Sun came to Japan as early as the 7th century CE, meditation became popular in the 12th century CE in Japan. Many Zen traditions exist, but Rinzai and Soto became the most well-known in Japan. In the 13th century CE, the Nihilan tradition based on the Lotus Sutra appeared. Shingon, the Japanese tantric tradition, was also revitalized around this time in the 12th century CE. So in the 12th century CE, in Japan, Rinzai and Soto Japanese meditation become popular, and also Nihiran tradition popularized, and also Shingon Japanese tantric tradition was revitalized around this time. In the Meiji Restoration of 1868, the Japanese government decreed that all Buddhist clergy allowed to marry. During the Japanese occupation of Korea in the early 20th century, non-celibate priesthood was introduced. However, Korean monastics resisted non-celibate priesthood. Therefore now, most Korean Sangha follow the ordination vows of monks and nuns, which necessarily include celibacy. Post-war, Japan has seen the rise of many small groups, each with its own way of practice. Some groups have integrated the pre-Buddhist Shinto belief into their system. Other groups have adopted a Christian bent. If you are interested in Buddhist practice in Japan, you should examine where the teachings of these groups to determine whether their interpretation is faithful to the Buddha's teachings. An underlying principle in Zen is that all beings have Buddha nature, that is, the seed of intrinsic Buddhahood. Some Zen masters express this by saying that all beings are already Buddha, but that their minds are clouded over by afflictions. Because of a fundamental requirement for Buddhahood is already within everyone. Zen stresses attaining enlightenment in this life. Zen is actually aware of the limitations of language. Zen practice is geared to transcend these limitations. Experience is stressed, not mere intellectual learning. The Zen teacher's duty is to bring the students back to the reality existing in the present moment whenever their fanciful mind get involved in conceptual wandering, such as daydreaming. Sanzen means daily consultation with a teacher. Sanzen is conducted during period of intense meditation. Brief but to the point discussion with the spiritual master can not only trigger insight in the students, but also gives the teacher the opportunity to access and validate the students' experiences in meditation. Having a profound personal relationship also provides for the mind-to-mind transmission of Dharma experience from teacher to student. The Japanese people esteem the strict discipline and the warrior, so Zen practice emphasizes sitting in perfect meditative position and conquering the pain of an aching back and sore knees. Accordingly, in some monastics, the meditation supervisor hit slouching or sleeping meditator with a stick to awaken them. Zazen means sitting meditation. Zazen is a key practice. The two major Zen traditions, such as Soto and Rinzai, have a slightly different approach to Zen meditation. Soto Zen teaches just sitting in which one focuses on the nature of the mind. Soto emphasizes original enlightenment and does not distinguish between the means and the end. Instead of constantly trying to achieve something, one is encouraged to just be and to be aware of that. Meditative quiescence is developed in Soto Zen by just sitting, thus concentrating the mind single-pointedly. Based on confidence that sitting is the perfect expression of inherent perfection or enlightenment, the practice of special insight involves total awareness of the body sitting in each moment. Rinzai Zen employs the Gong'an koan to develop special insight. Different gong'ans are used by each teacher, and each gong'an serves a different purpose. So there are two major Zen traditions. One is Soto and the other is Rinzai. So you became to know then how these two Zen traditions approach differently. From Japan, in particular, Zen and Rhytons Shosu have spread to Western countries. Japanese Zen has become very popular in the West. In the West, people attend meditation sessions and retreat organized by Japanese temple. Some Zen centers have begun social welfare programs as well, or hospice to help the terminally ill or people with AIDS. So today you study Japanese Buddhism, and what are the two major Zen traditions in Japan? Soto and Rinzai, or Ritsu or Soto, or Rinzai or Ritsu. So you can find the answer from the slide. Which of the following sutra is attributed to the central philosophy of Gakkon school? The central philosophy of Gakkon school is found from what sutra? And there is a school in China which also based on this sutra, and the name of a Chinese Buddhist school is Huayan. So if you remember what is Fundamental Sutra, Huayan school in China studied. Also, Gakkon school put central philosophy to that sutra. So you can find the answer from the lecture slide. How many consciousness has Hosso school taught? How many consciousness? I gave you that eye, ear, nose, and then the last, taintless consciousness, amala vijnana, taintless consciousness. So you can find how many consciousness has a Hosso school taught. So in the same way, you will write down the quiz answer and send me the email, and the due of week 9 quiz is June 13, Sunday. Also, in the title subject, please write down your week number, week 9 quiz. Write down your option name in the main body of the email. Please do not make attachment file for submitting the quiz answers. The quiz answers is only 3 questions, so you can write down 3 answers in the main text body of the email. Also, do not generate a zip file, ZIP file for any purpose. So when you submit this week 9 quiz, I will count your attendance. And I'm going to introduce the essay assignment. You will have lecture final on June 14, Monday. And lecture final is made up of 2 parts. The first part is just a multiple choice question. You will solve 10 questions and you will just select one correct answer from 4 answer samples. This is similar to midterm. That is the first part of lecture final. And second part of lecture final is essay question. Essay question. Again, the first 10 question is multiple choice question and question 11 is essay question. So you need to write an essay for the final exam. The theme of the essay is the characteristic of Buddhism in East Asia, China, Korea, Japan, in terms of the transmission of Buddhist doctrine, cultural influence of Buddhism, assimilation of Buddhism in new regions, transmission of Buddhism along the Silk Road, etc. So you decide the essay title based on your interested perspective of Buddhism in East Asia. For example, the essay topic can be the transmission of Buddhism to Korea along the Silk Road, or the modification of Buddhist doctrines in China, or you can create your own essay topic. But this topic, the underlying theme of this essay topic must be characteristic of Buddhism in East Asia, China, Korea, and Japan. So you cannot deal with all 3 countries. You just pick up one country. Maybe it could be China, it could be Korea or Japan, and maybe you can narrow down, oh, I'm interested in how meditation practice a little bit changed, and then how meditation can be transmitted from India to Central Asia to China, or what is the main characteristic of meditation practice in Korea, how these characteristics is different from other countries, or what is the route, such as the Silk Road by the land or by the sea, in which Buddhism can be transmitted to China, Korea, or Japan. So you need to search for other sources. You can read book or articles, or you can search some source from internet. All these are acceptable. Please put the citation of a source of your essay. when you write down other person's opinion, you can use direct citation, or if you can rewrite other person's opinion in your own word, still you need to put indirect citation. The length of this essay must be between 500 to 1000 words. Double space, 12 font, time rule Normans. Writing this essay will be appeared on the lecture final as the question. In other words, you will have 10 multiple choice questions and 1 essay question in the lecture final. I will upload the answer sheet in which you will write down the answers of 10 multiple choice questions and write down your essay in the following space. So your answer sheet of lecture final is longer than the answer sheet of midterm. So your answer sheet of lecture final, first 10 questions, you just write down answer, and followed the next page, you have to write down your own essay. You can prepare for this essay in advance so that you can just make a copy and paste your essay on the answer sheet to complete the lecture final. The lecture final will be held on June 14, Monday, until June 20, Sunday. The due of lecture final will be June 20. So you have about 2 weeks from now on to design and write down essay assignment. Also, your essay must be printed, not handwriting. So don't forget to keep the regulations such as 12 font, Times New Romans, double space, and the length of essay is no more than 1000, but at least 500 words. And this will be the format of answer sheet of the lecture final. Again, you will have 10 multiple choice questions similar to the midterm and 1 essay question in the lecture final, such as question 11 will be essay question. I will upload the answer sheet in which you will write down the answers of 10 questions and write down your essay in the following page. As I said before, you can prepare for this essay in advance so that you can just make a copy and paste your essay on the answer sheet before you submit the answer sheet to my email. One more thing is, please do not submit the essay in a separate file. Your answers for the lecture final, including your essay, must be in a same single file. And the due of lecture final will be June 20, Sunday midnight. So from now on, it might be a better idea to prepare, to think and design the essay title, and writing 1000 words is not very long length. So even 500 words is not long. Therefore, read articles, or you can use the article which I sent this week, or you can find another article. So do some literature search, and then once you choose some article, you read that, and then you can summarize those articles, and you need to add your opinion. But that article must be related to the theme, such as the characteristics of Buddhism in East Asia, China, Korea, Japan, in terms of the transmission of a Buddhist doctrine, cultural influence of Buddhism, assimilation of Buddhism in new region, transmission of Buddhism along the Silk Road. So whatever topic must be related to the characteristics of Buddhism in East Asia, such as China, Korea, and Japan. Okay, this is the end of the last lecture, and thank you very much for taking this course.